At 6:17 that morning, Vincent Moretti learned that the most terrifying sound in his empire was Emily Carter's phone ringing inside an empty office. The winter sky beyond Moretti Tower was still dark, and the 38th floor should have been silent, but Vincent had arrived early after Emily failed to answer 3 calls. She never ignored him. She argued with him, corrected him, and occasionally reminded him that patience was a skill he had somehow avoided learning for 45 years, but she never disappeared. Her desk lamp was still on. A cup of coffee sat untouched beside an open calendar. Her white coat hung behind the chair. Vincent picked up the ringing phone and saw Daniel Brooks's name on the screen. "Where is she?" Vincent asked. Daniel remained silent for 1 second too long. "We do not know." Vincent looked through the glass walls toward the empty hallway. Her car. Still underground. Building access records? Her identification card never registered an exit. Vincent's voice became quieter. "Cameras." Daniel arrived 12 minutes later with 2 security specialists and a secured laptop. The final clear recording showed Emily entering the service elevator at 11:43 the previous night. She wore her navy business suit and carried a small canvas bag Vincent had never seen before. The elevator descended to the loading level. No camera recorded her leaving the building. "Check every exit," Vincent said. "Already done." "Hospitals?" "Nothing." "Hotels, airports, train stations." Daniel looked at him. "Vincent, we need to understand what happened before we start sending people across the city." Vincent turned toward him. "She has been missing for 6 hours. And if she left voluntarily?" Vincent did not answer. The possibility offended something deeper than pride. Emily had managed his schedule for 6 years. She knew when he slept, where he traveled, which meetings he avoided, and which silences meant he had already made a decision. Vincent suddenly realized he could not name the last place Emily went when she wanted to be alone. He knew everything required to control her professional life, and almost nothing about the private life she protected. From him. At 6:49, Daniel opened the bottom drawer of Emily's desk while searching for emergency contacts. Inside was a small black device displaying 71 hours and 11 minutes. A countdown. Beneath it lay a sealed envelope with Vincent's name written across the front. Vincent opened it. The message contained only 2 sentences. "Do not look for me. If you do, someone innocent loses everything." The room went silent. Daniel read the message over Vincent's shoulder. "She planned this." Vincent stared at the countdown. "How long?" "If the timer began when she disappeared, 72 hours. Vincent folded the note once and placed it inside his coat. "Lockdown access to every company security system. Pull traffic cameras within 5 miles. Contact every transportation terminal in Chicago. Review every account she used in the last 30 days. Daniel did not move. "She told you not to search." Vincent looked at Emily's empty chair. "She is my secretary." Daniel's expression hardened. "That does not make her yours." Vincent turned slowly. "Find her." At 7:03, the first search requests entered Moretti Holdings' security network. Across the city, accounts were checked, cameras reviewed, and employees contacted. Vincent stood alone beside Emily's desk, watching the countdown continue toward 0. Then Daniel's secured phone displayed an unexpected alert. One protected legal account connected to an unidentified witness had been automatically closed less than 60 seconds after Vincent authorized the search. Daniel looked at the screen, then at Vincent. "Someone is watching your orders." Vincent froze. For the first time that morning, he understood that Emily's warning had not been asking him to abandon her. It had been telling him that the most dangerous person searching for Emily Carter might be Vincent Moretti himself. By 7:18 that morning, Vincent had canceled every meeting on his calendar and moved into the security operations room 3 floors below his office. Emily's countdown displayed 70 hours and 42 minutes. On the largest screen, Chicago appeared as a grid of transportation terminals, traffic cameras, hotels, hospitals, and company properties. Daniel stood beside the central console reviewing the consequences of Vincent's first search order. "The protected legal account closed automatically because someone accessed the same internal query log we used," he said. "Who has access?" Vincent asked. "More people than you want to hear right now. Give me names." That is exactly what Emily warned against. Vincent turned toward him. "She is missing. And every time you expand the search, whoever is watching learns where we are looking." Vincent stared at the map. Then search quietly. Daniel shook his head. There is no quiet search when you use company systems. Your authority leaves a trail. At 7:36, Vincent ordered a limited review of transportation records through an outside contractor. 9 minutes later, a prepaid hotel reservation connected to an unidentified protected witness was canceled remotely. At 8:02, he requested information from a private medical network. Before the response arrived, a scheduled legal consultation linked to the same confidential case was withdrawn. Vincent watched each consequence appear on Daniel's screen. Someone is reacting to me. Yes. Then we use the reactions to identify them. And how many people lose protection while you test that theory? Daniel asked. Vincent said nothing. At 8:21, the elevator doors opened and Sarah Mitchell entered the operations room carrying a leather folder. She had known Emily for 11 years and had never once asked Vincent for permission to speak plainly. Turn off the search, she said. Vincent looked at her. Tell me where Emily is. I do not know. You know something. I know she spent 3 weeks preparing for this morning. Vincent's expression changed. 3 weeks. Sarah placed the folder on the table. She created independent communication channels, transferred copies of legal documents outside Moretti Holdings, and arranged protection for people who were afraid to speak while your systems were being monitored. Why did she not tell me? Because you would have done exactly what you are doing now. Vincent stepped closer. If Emily is in danger, I will find her. Sarah held his gaze. Emily did not disappear because someone took her. She disappeared because she knew you would never let her go. The room became silent. Vincent looked toward the countdown. 70 hours and 7 minutes remained. Who is she protecting? I cannot tell you. Sarah. No, Vincent's voice lowered. You are standing inside my building. And Emily spent 6 years standing inside your building while learning that your protection always came with decisions she was not allowed to make. Daniel looked away. Sarah opened the folder and removed a single photograph. It showed Emily entering a neighborhood legal clinic 3 weeks earlier with an elderly woman Vincent did not recognize. Who is she? He asked. Someone who trusted Emily because Emily listened before deciding what she needed. Vincent studied the photograph. Emily was smiling. Not the professional smile she used in meetings. Something quieter. Easier. He realized he had never seen that expression at Moretti Tower. At 8:44, Daniel received another alert. A scheduled witness transfer had been canceled after someone accessed the contractor query Vincent authorized earlier. Sarah looked at the screen. That is the third consequence since you started searching. Vincent stared at Emily's empty image on the surveillance recording. Shut down every search. Daniel looked at him. All of them. Vincent remained silent for several seconds. All external searches. Preserve the logs. Nobody moves without telling me. Sarah closed the folder. You still do not understand. Vincent turned toward her. I stopped. No. You changed the way you were controlling the room. Before Vincent could answer, Daniel's phone vibrated again. He read the message twice. We have a new camera match. Vincent stepped toward him. Where? Daniel hesitated. A bus terminal in Milwaukee. Emily was recorded 43 minutes ago. Vincent reached for his coat. Sarah stood between him and the door. If you go after her, the next person who loses everything may be the person standing beside her. Vincent froze. On the screen, a grainy image appeared of Emily walking through the terminal beside an elderly woman carrying a document case. Emily was not running. She was not asking for help. She was exactly where she had chosen to be. Vincent Moretti stared at the surveillance image until the people around him became background noise. Emily wore the same navy business suit she had worn when she entered the service elevator, but her hair was tied back, and the small canvas bag rested over one shoulder. The elderly woman beside her held a document case against her chest with both hands. Nothing in Emily's posture suggested fear. She was guiding someone, protecting someone. Vincent looked at Sarah. Who was the woman? Sarah remained silent. You showed me a photograph of Emily entering a legal clinic with her 3 weeks ago. Her name is Margaret Ellis, Sarah said. She is 72. Her husband worked for a company Moretti Holdings acquired 12 years ago. What does that have to do with Emily? Sarah opened the leather folder again. Inside were copies of pension statements, handwritten letters, and meeting records Vincent had never seen. Margaret's husband died believing he had lost most of the retirement money he spent 34 years earning. She asked your company for an explanation 7 times. Vincent looked at the documents. Why did this never reach me? Because every complaint was redirected through departments designed to protect the company from liability. Sarah placed another file on the table. Emily found Margaret 8 months ago. Vincent turned toward the surveillance screen. Sarah continued. She started meeting retired employees after work. She helped them organize records, contacted independent attorneys, and spent weekends reviewing benefit statements. Without telling me, without asking your permission, the distinction landed harder than Vincent expected. Daniel opened a secured file containing Emily's calendar history. Dozens of ordinary entries suddenly carried different meanings. Dentist appointment, family dinner, personal errand. Vincent had approved schedule changes without ever asking what they concealed. How many people, he asked. 23 families directly. More may be affected. Vincent sat down slowly. He knew Emily's coffee order. He knew she preferred aisle seats on flights and refused meetings before 8 unless absolutely necessary. He knew she kept spare reading glasses in the second drawer of her desk. But he had not known what she did when she left his building. Why, he asked. Sarah studied him. Emily's father worked for the same manufacturing company for 29 years. When the company failed, his retirement plan collapsed during years of legal disputes. He spent the rest of his life writing letters nobody answered. Vincent looked at her. She never told me. You never asked. The operations room went silent. On the screen, Emily and Margaret disappeared beyond the terminal cameras. Daniel checked the transportation records. No ticket under either name. They may have switched vehicles or used transportation arranged by independent counsel. Vincent stood. Find the next camera. Sarah closed the folder. You are doing it again. I need to know she is safe. You need to know where she is. Those are not the same thing. Vincent turned toward Daniel. Can we track them without using company systems? Daniel hesitated. Possibly. Sarah looked at Vincent. And when the person monitoring you notices that you suddenly stopped using company resources, but Emily is still being followed? Vincent said nothing. The countdown showed 68 hours and 31 minutes. For the first time, the number did not feel like time remaining to find Emily. It felt like time remaining for him to understand why she believed disappearing was safer than trusting him. At 9:37, Daniel received a notification from an independent transportation camera system. A vehicle matching one connected to Margaret Ellis had been recorded leaving Milwaukee 20 minutes earlier. Vincent stepped toward the screen. Direction? Northwest. Possible destinations? Daniel entered the route information. Several locations appeared. Vincent recognized none of them. Then Sarah noticed one name. Lake Geneva. Vincent looked at her. What is there? Sarah's expression changed. A record storage facility used by the manufacturing company Emily's father worked for. Vincent reached for his coat. Sarah did not stop him this time. She only asked one question. If you find her, what exactly are you going to save her from? Vincent stood motionless. He had no answer. Seconds later, Daniel received another alert. The vehicle had changed direction. Whoever was watching Vincent's searches had reacted again. And somewhere beyond Chicago, Emily Carter was learning that the man she had asked to trust her was still trying to find her. At 10:06 that morning, Vincent Moretti made the decision Emily had feared from the moment she disappeared. He left Chicago. Daniel drove while Vincent sat in the rear seat of a black sedan, watching the highway stretch north beneath a colorless winter sky. Sarah remained at Moretti Tower, refusing to participate in the search. 67 hours and 54 minutes remained on Emily's countdown. No company systems, Vincent said. No calls to local authorities. No requests that create searchable records. Daniel kept his eyes on the road. You are still following her. I am making sure she is alive. You saw her less than 2 hours ago. On a camera. Walking freely beside someone she chose to protect. Vincent looked through the window. Drive. At 11:42, they reached the records facility outside Lake Geneva. The building was quiet. The parking lot held 6 cars, none belonging to Emily or Margaret. Vincent entered the public reception area while Daniel spoke with the facility manager. Emily had been there. She and Margaret had arrived shortly after 10, presented authorization from independent counsel, collected 2 sealed archival boxes, and left 27 minutes later. Vincent looked at the visitor log. Emily's signature appeared near the bottom of the page. She had been standing in this room less than 90 minutes earlier. Where did they go? Vincent asked. The manager shook his head. They did not tell us. Daniel stepped closer. There is something else. He showed Vincent a security report. 12 minutes after Emily left, someone had requested copies of the visitor records through credentials connected to a consulting company that had worked with Moretti Holdings. Vincent recognized the company immediately. Marcus Hale had approved its contract. He is watching. The same trail, Vincent said. And every time you get closer to Emily, you confirm which trail matters, Daniel replied. Vincent stared at Emily's signature. He knew Daniel was right. He walked outside but did not return to the car. The cold air carried the smell of snow from the lake. Check the parking lot cameras, Vincent said. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. Vincent, one camera. Nothing else. 20 minutes later, they found the vehicle. Emily and Margaret had left in a gray sedan heading west. Vincent ordered Daniel to follow the route using public traffic cameras. By 1:08, they reached a small train station near Delavan, Wisconsin. The waiting room was almost empty. On a wooden bench beneath the departure board lay a navy scarf Vincent recognized immediately. Emily had worn it through 3 Chicago winters. Beside it was a folded note. Vincent opened the paper. You were supposed to trust me. He read the sentence twice. Daniel stood several feet away. She knew you would come. Vincent looked around the empty station. Did she leave this for me? Maybe she left it for the man she hoped would stop following. Vincent's jaw tightened. Then the station attendant approached with a small envelope. A woman asked me to give this to anyone who came asking about her. Inside was a photograph of Margaret standing beside 5 retired workers outside an independent legal office. On the back, Emily had written one sentence. They trusted me because I promised your power would never reach them. Vincent remained silent. At 1:31, his phone rang. Sarah, the protected records transfer scheduled for this afternoon was canceled, she said. Someone accessed the Lake Geneva visitor request, identified the archival boxes Emily collected, and challenged the receiving office's authority. Vincent looked at the scarf in his hand. Can the transfer be restored? Possibly, but Emily has to change the entire route. Is she safe? Sarah paused. She was safer before you left Chicago. The word stayed with him after the call ended. Vincent sat on the wooden bench where Emily had been. 64 hours and 29 minutes remained. He had crossed 90 miles. Believing distance would bring him closer to her. Instead, every mile had narrowed the space she needed to protect people who had no power of their own. Daniel placed the car keys on the bench. There is another possible location. Vincent looked at him. Where? A legal office outside Madison. Emily may arrive there tonight. Vincent closed his hand around the scarf. He could leave immediately. He could reach Madison before sunset. He could finally stand in front of Emily and demand an explanation. Then Daniel's secured phone displayed a new message from Sarah. A voice recording. Emily's voice filled the silent station. If Vincent finds this trail, tell him the truth. Every time he comes closer to me, someone else loses the chance to be heard. Vincent froze. Outside, snow began falling across the empty tracks. For the first time since Emily disappeared, the road ahead was clear. And Vincent Moretti no longer knew whether following it would save her or destroy everything she had left him to protect. At 6:38 that evening, Vincent returned to Moretti Tower carrying Emily's navy scarf in his coat pocket and the weight of every mistake he had made since sunrise. He had not gone to Madison. He had ordered Daniel to turn the car south and drive back to Chicago, but the decision brought no relief. 59 hours and 22 minutes remained. Emily's empty desk looked exactly as Vincent had left it. Her lamp was still on. The untouched coffee had been removed by the cleaning staff, leaving a pale circle on the wood where the cup had stood. Vincent sat in her chair for the first time in 6 years. From there, his office looked different. Larger, colder, farther away than he remembered. Daniel entered carrying a secured tablet. We have another possible location. Vincent did not look up. Where? An independent legal office outside Madison. A transportation record suggests Margaret may arrive there before midnight. Vincent reached for his coat, then stopped. Daniel placed the tablet on Emily's desk. If you leave now, we can be there in under 3 hours. Vincent stared at the screen. For 40 hours, every instinct inside him had demanded movement. Find the next camera. Call the next contact. Close the next road. Reach Emily before anyone else could. He had spent his life believing action was proof of strength. Now the clearest path to her felt like another trap built from his own fear. Play the recording again, he said. Daniel opened Sarah's message. Emily's voice filled the empty office. If Vincent finds this trail, tell him the truth. Every time he comes closer to me, someone else loses the chance to be heard." The recording ended. Vincent remained still. "There is another file," Daniel said. "Sarah sent it while we were driving back." He opened a second recording. Emily's voice sounded tired but calm. "If he comes after me, it means he still believes caring about someone gives him the right to decide what they can survive. I need him to understand that I did not disappear because I wanted to leave him behind. I disappeared because I could not protect these people while fighting him at the same time." Vincent lowered his eyes. No accusation had ever reached him so completely. He remembered canceling Emily's meetings without asking, changing her transportation, reviewing her schedule, deciding which risks she was allowed to take, and calling every decision protection. He had believed the world outside his control was dangerous. He had never considered what it felt like to be someone living inside that control. Daniel stood quietly near the doorway. "Do you want me to prepare the car?" Vincent looked at the address on the tablet. One command could put him on the road. One command could bring him closer to Emily. "How certain are you?" 60%. "And if we go? The people monitoring our movements may follow the same trail." Vincent closed his eyes for a moment. "Then delete the address from my device." Daniel did not move. "Vincent, delete it." Daniel removed the location. Vincent looked toward the dark Chicago skyline. "Suspend every search connected to Emily. Stop reviewing transportation records. Stop requesting camera access. Tell Sarah I am restoring every independent account affected by my orders." "And the company systems?" "Transfer the investigation logs to outside counsel. Nobody reports Emily's location to me." Daniel studied him. "Even if we find her?" Vincent looked at Emily's empty chair. "Especially if you find her." The room went silent. At 7:14, Daniel began shutting down the search operation. At 7:26, the first protected legal account was restored. At 7:41, Sarah confirmed that the canceled records transfer could be rescheduled through a different independent office. Vincent remained at Emily's desk. He did not ask where. At 8:03, Daniel received a new message. He read it, then turned the screen away. Vincent noticed. "Is she alive?" "Yes." Vincent released a breath. "Is she safe enough to continue?" Daniel hesitated. "Yes." Vincent nodded. "Then do not tell me anything else." For the first time since Emily disappeared, the countdown continued without Vincent trying to outrun it. 57 hours and 54 minutes remained. Somewhere beyond Chicago, Emily Carter was still moving toward the truth she had chosen to protect. And inside the empire he had spent decades controlling. Vincent Moretti finally understood that losing control was not the worst thing that could happen to him. The worst thing would be becoming the reason Emily never chose to come back. By 8:30 the next morning, Vincent Moretti had spent the night inside his office without asking a single person where Emily was. The countdown showed 45 hours and 30 minutes remaining. For a man who had built his life around information, silence felt almost physical. Daniel entered carrying 2 folders and placed them on the desk. Outside counsel has control of the investigation logs. The protected accounts are active again. The records transfer is moving through a new route. Vincent looked at the folders, but did not touch them. Does either folder contain Emily's location? One of them might. Take it away. Daniel watched him for a moment, then removed the folder. Marcus Hale requested a private meeting. Vincent looked up. Why? He says he has information about Emily. Send him in. Marcus arrived 20 minutes later wearing the calm expression of a man who believed uncertainty belonged to other people. He sat across from Vincent without being invited. You stopped looking for her, Marcus said. Vincent remained silent. Interesting decision. Your secretary disappears with confidential records, and suddenly you trust independent lawyers more than your own company. What do you want? To help you understand what she did. Marcus placed a document on the desk. Emily transferred copies of internal records without your approval. She contacted former employees. She created legal exposure. Some people would call that betrayal. Vincent looked at the document, but did not reach for it. Do you know where she is? Marcus smiled slightly. I know where she may appear next. Vincent felt the old instinct return immediately. The need to stand, call Daniel, close every exit, and reach Emily before anyone else did. Instead, he leaned back. Then keep it to yourself. Marcus's expression changed. You are willing to let her disappear? I am willing to let her make a decision without asking me. That does not sound like Vincent Moretti. Maybe that is the problem. Marcus stood. When this damages your company, remember that you chose her over control. Vincent met his eyes. No, I chose to stop confusing control with loyalty. Marcus left without another word. Daniel entered after the elevator doors closed. He wanted you to move. I know. We traced the document he brought. It contained a hidden access marker. If you had opened the digital attachment, someone would have known which investigation channel we were using. Vincent looked toward Emily's empty desk outside his office. She knew he would use me. She knew someone would. At 10:12, Sarah called through the secure line. The first archival package reached independent counsel. Vincent closed his eyes briefly. Good. There are 2 more transfers. Do not tell me where. Sarah remained quiet. Emily asked whether the search is stopped. Vincent looked at the countdown. What did you tell her? The truth. And she said nothing for a long time. Vincent waited. Then she asked whether you had demanded her location. What did you say? I told her you specifically ordered us not to give it to you. Vincent lowered his voice. Is that all? No, she said. She did not know whether to believe the change would last. Vincent nodded slowly. She should not believe it yet. Sarah was silent. That may be the first reasonable thing you have said in 2 days. The call ended. At noon, Daniel received confirmation that another protected witness had safely met independent counsel. Vincent did not ask who. At 2:40, a transportation alert appeared on Daniel's private device. He immediately turned the screen away. Vincent noticed, but returned to the financial report in front of him. You are not going to ask? Daniel said. No, the information may concern Emily. Vincent's hand stopped over the page. For several seconds, the room was silent. Is she in immediate danger? No, then I do not need to know. Daniel nodded and left. 40 hours and 23 minutes remained. Vincent stood alone beside the windows as snow moved slowly between the towers of downtown Chicago. Somewhere outside his reach, Emily was finishing what she had begun. He could not see her, direct her, or protect her from every uncertainty. For the first time, he understood that restraint was not the absence of action. It was a choice repeated every time fear demanded control. Then the secure phone rang. Sarah's voice was quiet. Vincent, the final transfer route has been compromised. His expression hardened. Is Emily safe? Sarah hesitated. For now. Vincent looked at the countdown. Tell me what you need. Sarah answered. Nothing from your power. We need you to keep doing the one thing you have never been good at. Vincent stared at Emily's empty chair. Wait. At 5:47 on the 3rd morning, Vincent Moretti sat alone in the lobby of Moretti Tower while the countdown entered its final 30 minutes. The building was beginning to wake around him. Employees crossed the marble floor carrying coffee and briefcases, security officers changed shifts, and elevators opened and closed with their familiar quiet chime. Vincent noticed none of it. For nearly 72 hours, he had searched, interfered, failed, stopped, and waited. Now there was nothing left for him to do. Daniel stood near the security desk, speaking quietly with outside counsel. Sarah had called 20 minutes earlier to confirm that the final archival package had reached independent attorneys. Margaret Ellis and the other protected witnesses were safe. The evidence had been copied, verified, and distributed through channels Marcus Hale could no longer quietly disrupt. Emily had completed what she disappeared to do, but nobody had told Vincent whether she was coming back. At 6:02, Daniel approached. The countdown ends in 15 minutes. Vincent looked toward the revolving doors. I know. Sarah received confirmation that Emily left the final legal office several hours ago. Vincent's expression changed. Is she safe? Yes. Then do not tell me where she is. Daniel studied him. The operation is over. Her right to choose is not. Daniel nodded and stepped away. At 6:11, Vincent's phone vibrated. A message from Marcus appeared on the screen. I can tell you where she is. Vincent read it once, deleted it, and placed the phone face down beside him. 6 minutes remained. For the first time in his life, waiting felt more difficult than giving an order. Every instinct told him to call Sarah, question Daniel, check the cameras, and use the systems that could turn uncertainty into information. He did none of those things. The countdown reached 3 minutes. Then 2. Then 1. At 6:17, the black device on the table displayed 0. Nothing happened. The revolving doors remained empty. Vincent lowered his eyes. He had known this was possible. Emily had never promised to return. She had only asked him not to follow. Daniel remained across the lobby, saying nothing. 30 seconds passed. Then the revolving doors moved. Vincent looked up. Emily Carter stepped into the lobby carrying the worn canvas bag over one shoulder and a sealed document case in her hand. Her navy business suit was wrinkled from travel, her hair loosely tied back, and exhaustion showed beneath her eyes, but she was walking on her own, exactly as she had left. Vincent stood. Every person nearby seemed to disappear from his awareness. He took one step toward her, then stopped. Emily saw him. She slowed but continued walking across the marble floor. Vincent did not move again. She crossed the distance because she chose to. When she stopped in front of him, neither spoke for several seconds. "You did not come for me," Emily said. Vincent's voice was quiet. "No," she searched his face. "Why?" "Because you asked me not to." Emily looked down at the navy scarf folded beside the countdown device. "You found the station?" "Yes." "And Madison?" "Daniel found a possible location." "But you did not come." "No." Her eyes lifted to his. "Why did you stop?" Vincent could have told her about the compromised accounts, the witnesses, Marcus, or the damage caused by his search. Instead, he gave her the answer that had taken 72 hours to understand. "Because I finally realized that protecting you did not give me the right to become another person you had to escape." Emily remained silent. The lobby seemed impossibly still. Vincent looked at the document case in her hand. "Did you finish what you needed to do?" "Yes." "Are the people safe?" "They are." Vincent nodded. "Then that is enough." Emily studied him as if she were waiting for the command hidden behind the words. None came. "You are not going to ask where I was?" "No." "You are not going to ask who helped me?" "Not unless you want to tell me." Her expression changed almost imperceptibly. Some of the tension she had carried for 3 days left her shoulders. "I do not know if I trust this version of you yet." Vincent nodded. "You should not." Emily looked surprised. Trust should not be demanded because someone behaved differently for one day. He stepped aside, leaving the path to the elevators open. "You can go home. You can speak with outside counsel. You can leave this building again. The choice is yours." Emily looked toward the elevators, then back at Vincent. "I need to present the evidence. Then I will listen." She walked past him toward the conference floor. Vincent did not follow until she turned and said, "Are you coming?" Only then did he move. And as they entered the elevator together, Vincent understood that Emily's return was not forgiveness, and it was not surrender. It was something far more difficult for a man like him to earn. A second chance she was still free to take away. The conference room on the 38th floor was full by 7:00 for that morning. But when Emily Carter entered carrying the sealed document case, every conversation stopped. Independent attorneys sat along one side of the long table. Employee representatives and retired workers occupied the other. Daniel stood near the glass wall with the security logs already transferred to outside counsel. Sarah waited beside an empty chair reserved for Emily. Marcus Hale sat at the far end of the room with 2 attorneys, his expression calm enough to suggest that he still believed the system would protect him. Vincent entered last. He did not take the chair at the head of the table. Instead, he sat beside Daniel, several feet behind Emily. Marcus noticed immediately. Emily placed the document case on the table and opened it. These records contained pension statements, internal correspondence, transfer approvals, and archived accounting reports connected to 23 families directly and potentially many more. One of Marcus's attorneys leaned forward. Were these documents removed from company property without executive authorization? Emily looked at him. Verified copies were transferred through independent legal channels after repeated internal complaints failed to receive meaningful review. That was not my question. It was the answer. The room went silent. Emily distributed copies of the verification reports. Every archival package had been authenticated by independent specialists and delivered to multiple legal offices. No single person could quietly erase the evidence now. Marcus looked toward Vincent. "You are allowing your secretary to accuse senior executives inside your own company." Vincent remained seated. "She does not need my permission to present verified evidence." Marcus's expression tightened. "She works for you." Emily turned toward him. "I work for Moretti Holdings. I do not surrender my judgment when I enter this building." Sarah placed another document on the table. It showed the access history connected to the consulting company Marcus had approved. The same credentials had appeared after Vincent's searches, the Lake Geneva visitor. Request, and the attempted interference with protected legal transfers. Marcus studied the pages. Access records prove nothing about intent. That is why an independent investigation begins today, Sarah said. You will have the same opportunity to answer questions that the retired workers were denied for years. One elderly employee slowly stood. My wife died believing we had lost everything because nobody would explain where our retirement money went. No one interrupted him. Emily answered my calls. He looked across the table. That is why we trusted her. Marcus turned toward Vincent again. This company will suffer because you allowed an employee to operate outside your authority. Vincent finally stood. No. This company suffered because people inside it learned that authority mattered more than accountability. The room became still. One executive near the window asked, "Then why did you let your secretary do this?" Vincent looked at Emily. She did not need him to defend her, and for once, he understood that. The first mistake I made was believing she needed my permission. Nobody spoke. Emily's eyes remained on Vincent for several seconds before she returned to the documents. I am proposing an independent pension protection office with authority to review complaints without executive interference. Its records should be controlled by outside counsel, and its leadership should report to an independent oversight board. Vincent nodded. Agreed. Emily looked directly at him. You have not heard the conditions. A few people shifted in their seats. Vincent remained still. Then I will listen. Emily continued. No executive, including you, can access protected witness identities without authorization from outside counsel. No internal security team can monitor employees seeking legal advice. No complaint can be closed without a written explanation available to the person who filed it. Vincent looked around the room. Put every condition in writing. Marcus stood. You are giving away control of your own company. Vincent met his eyes. I am returning control to the places where it should have existed. Sarah closed the final folder. Outside counsel formally announced the beginning of the independent investigation and the temporary suspension of system access for everyone connected to the disputed records, including Marcus. No guards approached him. No threats were made. Marcus simply stood in the silence of a room where his influence could no longer change what had already been documented. Emily closed the document case. Vincent remained behind her as employees and retired workers began speaking with the attorneys. He did not ask what she planned to do next. He waited until she turned toward him. You meant what you said? She asked. About the oversight office? About listening. Vincent looked at her. I am learning that it takes longer than saying it. Emily studied him, then gave a small nod. Across the room, the elderly employee who had spoken earlier shook Sarah's hand while his wife's pension records were reviewed by independent counsel. Vincent watched Emily watching them. He finally understood why she had disappeared. She had not left because she wanted to destroy his empire. She had left because people without power needed someone willing to protect the truth from everyone who possessed it, including him. And that morning, in a room where Vincent Moretti once expected every decision to wait for his approval, justice arrived quietly when he chose to remain silent and let Emily Carter finish speaking. 6 months later, Emily Carter stood inside the Independent Pension Protection Office on the 38th floor of Moretti Tower, watching the last employee of the day leave with a written explanation of a claim that once would have disappeared inside an unanswered department file. The office had its own legal counsel, protected records system, and independent oversight board. Vincent Moretti had no private access to witness identities, no authority to close complaints, and no ability to change those rules without formal review. Emily had insisted on every condition. Vincent had accepted every one. Their relationship had changed more slowly. He still arrived before most employees. She still corrected his schedules when meetings overlapped. He still disliked uncertainty, and she still noticed the brief silence that appeared whenever he wanted to ask a question he had learned was not his right to demand. Trust had not returned in a dramatic moment. It had grown through ordinary choices. Vincent stopped requesting her personal schedule. He stopped asking Daniel to confirm when she arrived home. When Emily declined a company car, he simply said good night. When she traveled for legal conferences, he asked whether she needed anything and accepted no as a complete answer. On a Friday evening in early October, Emily entered Vincent's office carrying a small suitcase. I am leaving for a week, she said. Vincent looked up from a financial report. For 1 second, the old questions appeared in his expression. Where are you going? Which hotel? What flight? Who will be with you? Emily waited. Vincent closed the report. Do you need a ride to the airport? No, all right. She studied him. That is all. Vincent leaned back. Would you like me to ask something else? 6 months ago, you would already know my flight number. 6 months ago, I thought knowing everything was the same as keeping you safe. Emily looked toward the windows. Chicago glowed beneath the evening sky. And now I know that if you want me to know where you are going, you will tell me. Emily smiled slightly. I am going to Seattle. Sarah invited me to speak at a legal accountability conference, and I am staying 2 extra days because I have never seen the Pacific Northwest. Vincent nodded. I hope you enjoy it. She turned toward the door, then stopped. You are not going to tell Daniel to check whether I landed? No. You are not going to call the hotel? No. You are making progress. Vincent almost smiled. I have been told patience is a skill I avoided learning for 45 years. Emily laughed softly, recognizing her own words. She left his office and walked toward the elevators. Vincent remained at his desk. He did not follow. A minute later, Emily returned to the doorway. Vincent, he looked up. I will see you next Monday. He held her gaze. I know. Emily disappeared around the corner. Vincent heard the elevator arrive, then the doors close. He returned to the report in front of him. He did not check his phone. He did not call Daniel. He did not ask anyone where Emily Carter was. The following Monday, at 8:03 in the morning, the elevator doors opened on the 38th floor. Emily stepped out carrying her suitcase and 2 cups of coffee. Vincent was standing near the windows outside his office. She handed him 1 cup. You remembered, he said. Black coffee. No sugar. I always remembered. Vincent looked at her. How was Seattle? Beautiful. I am glad. Emily walked toward her office, then turned back. You really did not check? Not once. Was it difficult? Vincent considered the question. Yes. Emily smiled. Good. Vincent raised an eyebrow. Good. It means you chose differently, even when the old choice would have been easier. She continued down the hallway. Vincent watched her go, but he did not mistake watching for ownership anymore. Emily had returned because she wanted to. Tomorrow, she might leave again. She had every right to. Vincent finally understood that love was not proven by making someone impossible to lose. It was proven by becoming someone they could leave freely and still choose to return to. And that day, Vincent Moretti learned that the woman he once feared losing had given him something power could never command. She had given him trust, not because he demanded it, but because he had finally learned how to deserve it.